Welcome to Southwestern Michigan College. Yes!
We're here at Southwestern Michigan College on a day when the college is celebrating 50 years. And we're in the Fred L. Mathews Library with Fred L. Mathews, who is chairman of the Board of Trustees of the college. Well, it's such a treat to be here on this really beautiful day. How are you doing today?
Great. Thanks for coming.
Well, we're so happy to be here, and we really want to talk about two things. One of your pioneers, who's Ron Gunn, and we also want to talk about your brand new book, which is coming out today. So first we'd like to start with Ron Gunn, whom we know through Steve's Run. He's kind of one of the people I know calls him a Pied Piper. What are some of your memories of Ron?
And he's also a legend in running coaches, among running coaches in the United States and even in some foreign countries. Ron is one of a kind. We started the college, opened the doors in 1966, and in 1967, in May, Ron was hired to teach physical education. Well, by December of '67, Ron had expanded his area of activities way beyond physical education. He had an intramural sports program going and many other things. So in December of '67, Ron came to the Board of Trustees and made a presentation encouraging us to start intercollegiate sports. Intercollegiate sports was almost not discussed during the campaign to establish the college. We just didn't want to get into what would have been a controversial discussion. And so Ron came to the board, and after an hour discussion, his enthusiasm rubbed off on all of us, and we agreed to start intercollegiate sports in the fall of 1968, which we did. And that action that we passed that night was like putting a match to a keg of dynamite, you know. It really was. Ron was a fireball. He was just did more than most three people would do, and became as you all recognized, the most outstanding coach in the United States when it came to especially runners.
He's a legend among cross-country coaches because I think it was something like 16 out of 18 Michigan titles or conference titles or national titles, and the team was called the Roadrunners.
Yes, and I have some of those statistics. Under Ron, we had 5 national cross-country championships. We had 18 National Junior College Athletic Association regional champs 18 times. 23 times we were Michigan champs. And 5 times Ron was elected Coach of the Year by his peers. And he coached to USA international cross-country teams in 1980 to Ireland and in 1984 to Germany. And he also, in later years, he also coached women's basketball for a while. Ron was, I've always said that Ron Gunn could take good average athletes and turn them into champions. He was the greatest motivational person I've ever known. He could have gone on the motivational speaking tour and probably made 10 times what he made here, you know.
Hey, we're at the Southwestern Michigan College Museum, just the history of the college itself, and we're celebrating the Gala 50th, and I'm awful proud of the college and what it's meant to this community. And I'm also particularly proud of the athletic and physical education programs that we have here. And this happens to be our first initial uniform in the history of the college, and I think they're the ugliest things I ever designed. But it brings back a lot of memories now. So anyway, we started out as a track club, and we went into regular track and cross country. And of course, once we got the program going, we got better looking uniforms.
Welcome to Southwestern Michigan College.
And we developed some trophy winners like this here, our national championship trophy for cross country. And we ended up winning 5 national cross country titles and 3 national marathon titles. So very, very happy about that. Our track and cross country both won several state and regional titles. So and these are all outlined here under the plaque, the Roadrunners. We had some really outstanding athletes, not only on the track, but in the field. And we had a long jumper once go 27-11. He said he almost jumped out of the pit. So that was Keith Talley. So it was really was a lot of thrills. And this little college, ounce for ounce, we had all the fight in the world. This is Ryan Johnson, and I had both he and his dad were on my track team. And so that was kind of cool just for that aspect. But we had a big meet out on our home track, and we were kicking it off against some of the big schools in the state. And it was a 4x100 meter relay. And Ryan was running the second leg. And I'll never forget this as long as I lived. I don't think my feet touched the ground when I saw it. But he had to make the handoff, and the runner that was taking the baton actually took off too quick. And Ryan had to totally sell out in order to make that handoff. So he just flew and left the ground, stretched as far as he could, handed the baton, and then landed on his face, his chest, and his side.
Worth it.
On that track.
Show us those scars.
I've never seen.
Right here in the back.
I've never seen anything like it.
That day too. Bad news. But I would never give that up for anything.
That's what we call coaching, selling out. He sold out his body in order to do good for the team, and that really brings it out of me as a coach, because you love to see that attitude. And now we're privileged and talk about history. Probably the greatest distance runner in our history. I don't want to really get into that, but nobody, I don't think, is going to match what he did. All the national titles he won, including the national championship down at Florida State in Tallahassee. I'll never forget that as long as we live. And John Roscoe. He also won the national marathon championship right here in Dowagiac. And the finish was downtown across from the post office. And he told me after the race, he says, "Coach, I was just running on guts." He said, "But if just like Steve Prefontaine, if the race gets down to guts, then I'm going to win." And he did. And I'll never forget that. It was awesome. And he said, "Coach, they were throwing ice at me, but I couldn't feel, all I could feel felt like rocks, because I was so hot that it didn't make any difference." But he finished that race, won the national championship, and here he is now, a very successful manager in business, and we love having all these people back on campus.
When the first time I ever met Coach Gunn was in the Indiana State Championships in Indianapolis, and came up to me and told me he was interested in recruiting me. Made a visit up to the campus and thought it was a great opportunity for a lot of things, all the way from my education to being accomplished in sports. And one of the greatest memories, obviously, was winning the national championship. We went to Florida and jogged the course, and the next day I ended up winning the race, and I enjoyed all the friendships that I had with my teammates and the opportunities for future endeavors. But it's a part of my life that made me who I am today. competitive, and I care for my workers and my family, and it all started here at Southwestern.
Now that we're talking about history, in the history of my life, I had a couple of beautiful women in my life, and this is one. It's Karen. And she's been a lot to me and taught me a lot of the lessons I needed in order to achieve what we have at the college. So I'm really pleased she came out today, and she's looking like $1 million, I'll tell you. This is Karen Pugh, who's the mother of my first child, Jeff.
We're in a really cool place. It's the Woodfire Grill, and it's where the folks that put on Steve's Run come to celebrate afterwards. And we found somebody who came back specially for Steve's Run. And your name is?
Dennis Bell,
And Dennis, where do you live now?
Tampa, Florida.
And what brings you back to Steve's Run after all these years?
Yeah, it's a lot of years, 37 or 38 years. I was here in 1973, 74, and I just happened to be one of Coach Gunn's, I was Coach Gunn's first All-American. And after me, he had many, many others, and he had an unbelievable program.
Well, not only were you the first All-American, but wasn't it the first national championship team?
Yeah, we were, my sophomore year, that was the first time we were national champs.
Who are some of the other people who were on that first championship team with you?
Oh gosh, John Roscoe was our best runner. John Roscoe from Indiana, Brian Petroff also from Maryville, Indiana, Ed Murrow, Calumet High School from Indiana. I was from Highland High School. Bill Freeze, Hartford, Michigan. He's the timing champ here.
So he was on that team himself?
Oh yeah.
He wouldn't tell us that.
Yeah, but it was a lot of good times.
Well, then Ron went on and founded the original road and trail race, which became Steve's Run after Steve Briegel died. And it has drawn runners from all over northern Indiana and southwest Michigan and beyond southwest Michigan. They come over from Detroit sometimes. And it itself has introduced a lot of people to run in his idea of fire up. And that also is one of the ways that the college is connected to the community, and of course there are many.
Yes. Steve Briegel was the son of our fifth president, I believe, David Briegel, who became president in 1981. And Steve, at the age of about 20, developed cancer. And Mayo Clinic, with their great expertise, they prolonged his life quite a while. And so Steve's Run, half of the proceeds go to Mayo Clinic, and half the proceeds go to the Steve Briegel scholarship here at the college.
Welcome to Steve's Run! Woo!
Thank you for coming. We really appreciate you accepting the challenge of this course. This is something that I read prior to every Steve's Run. I think it really captures the spirit of what this race is all about. Fantastic. Although the course set before you is tough and full of challenge, life can be much tougher. Today's race celebrates the life and memory of Steve Briegel. Many runners and walkers entered in today's event didn't know Steve. However, I am sure that every participant has known someone who possessed the same courage, determination, and love of life that Steve did. All cancer survivors are wearing special shirts. We salute these special survivors.
Well, here in Dowagiac, Michigan, we're with Camille and Dave Briegel, and we're celebrating 40 years of Steve's Run. And Dave, you especially had this character, Ron Gunn, who was doing things with sports on campus when you were the president of Southwest Michigan College. Tell us a little bit about what that was like.
Well, I want to go way back when Ron is the one who really introduced running in this area. When Ron got us started to run, we'd be running down a road, and a car would stop and say, "Do you need a ride?" You know, that they thought everyone broke down someplace, and that's what it was. Finally, they got used to seeing a bunch of people out running, And the other things that like Ron was noted for is how neat his arrows were, always on the course and where to turn. And in fact, at most cities, not most cities, but even in Toronto, Ron's got arrows showing where we had to run in downtown Toronto. So that was unique. And I saw people looking down there and they wondered what in the world that was. So that's how things started here. And from that they grew. Ron was the one that really put together and started the Monday Night Running Club, which is now a drinking and eating club, but because of age, and it just started and it grew from that. And then of course we got people in the community started to run, and more people at the college started to run, and all of a sudden we had this swell of people out running. And then on top of that, then what he did for the business interests in the college, we had a restaurant that was kind of struggling, and he encouraged them to open up on a Monday, and they were always closed. The running club started to go there. They had wonderful food, and then they passed it on to other people. And the restaurant, after about 6 months, became very, very successful and the impetus behind that was Ron Gunn. Ron Gunn is the one who really got that started.
Now, Camille, did you get started running because of the Monday Night Running Club?
I sure did. Even before the running club started, right? We were out running in the trails with Ron, and even when our children were really small, I'd take them out running, and we'd run together and try to do a couple miles. Sometimes they weren't real happy about that, but they made it. Our daughter's still running. She's ran the 10K today, so that was
wow,
great.
That's cool. and you have a number on, so you ran today too.
I did the walk today. However, years ago I used to always do the 10K, and this is the run is one of the toughest 10Ks around. I mean, it is difficult, very, very challenging. But I did the walk today, and I had a baby carriage in front of me, thinking I was going to pick up my 4-year-old grandson, who would be exhausted by that time. Couldn't find him, and I found out he finished about 5 minutes ahead of us.
So the genes carry on.
Right. So
Dave, what's your favorite part of the 10K?
Well, let me tell you what the part I did not like is Ron had this all engineering. We had a hill out just before we got to the library that we had to come up like this. Oh, it was exhausting getting up that hill. I still remember that, don't you, Camille? That was a tough one.
Great when we got to campus. That was great after that. But really, probably the best part is when we finish and you come down this huge big hill on Wilbur Hill, and it's all downhill for practically a whole mile, coming downhill and then up over the bridge and downhill again. So that's really nice at the end.
One of the other things that's really special and nice about it is Ron had designed this where we were on city streets, originally, and then we work our way through to the golf course and up around the cemetery and in through here where the gravesite is and back down. And the other people who did the 10K, they're into the beautiful woods and trails of Southwestern Michigan College, and it's very, 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 very challenging, but a very, very, very interesting, beautiful race.
Yeah. It's probably the most varied 10K anywhere. I don't know one that has more different kinds of settings. Do you think?
I think you're right. I think we still have some hay bales out there. Do we not? They have to jump up. Yes, right. I think I always walked around them, however.
Well, you mentioned the gravesite, and so we've talked a little bit about Steve, but tell us how the race itself came to be known as Steve's Run.
Well, it was after one of the races that, and after Stephen had died, and our son worked in part-time for Southwestern Michigan College as a student. He was there for a couple of years, and the person he worked for was Ron Gunn. And he just developed a special relationship with Ron, and always talked about Ron and some funny stories that I won't tell you here today. But they just always had a good time, and he had very regarded Ron very, very highly. And so that's how we got things started.
Okay. And I think the feeling was mutual, wasn't it? I think Ron has high regard for Steve.
He did, and I think it was Ron's suggestion that we change it to Steve's Run, because he just felt that he had done a lot. You know, at the college he'd really struggled and loved Southwestern Michigan College and worked there, and then with Dave being there and the president and everything, and Ron just thought it would be great to name it Steve's Run, and it's really been great to have a run named after our son. We appreciate it so much.
Welcome to Steve's Run!
That's how it developed. And the other big thing that Ron thought about particularly, was the fact that cancer impacts so many of our lives, and so we made that cancer a component of this race, and we have a number of cancer survivors that are with us each year for that, and unfortunately new ones each year that come along as well. So that was it really helped to build the race too, because we had a real purpose for having the race.
Okay, thank you very much. And now what we'd like to do is to recognize these people by them identify themselves and the cancer that they're so valiantly fighting, and their years that they've been doing that. We'll start right here. A very special story. This is the first time we've ever made a youth-size survivor shirt, so I think it's cool.
This is Kyle Chalupka. He's a survivor from Burkitt's non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He's 10 years old.
My name is Jill Swartz. I'm a 3-year survivor. I had kidney cancer. Glad to be here.
I'm Dave Pod from Florida, diagnosed with prostate cancer at the age of 43. Cancer-free today.
I'm Krista Greaves. I have had thyroid cancer, but I've been cancer-free 18 months.
I'm Vicki Rose, and I am a breast cancer survivor from 2001, and most recently, lung cancer.
John Gray. I was diagnosed with follicular lymphoma in 2003, and I'm in watchful waiting right now.
I'm Don Hall. I had colon cancer, and I'm a 13-year survivor.
And beat breast cancer 15 years.
Conley, 8-year survivor of breast cancer.
Jackie Bowie, 7-year breast cancer survivor.
Jane Schmidt, almost 5-year breast cancer survivor.
Ron has distinguished himself at Southwestern Michigan College in a number of ways, in addition to the wonderful cross-country and track teams that he had. He did so many things. He also distinguished himself in another way as well. He's the only person in the history of the college who lost his car keys 357 times in our 20-year friendship. And also he received a letter from the president of a company indicating that he could not be here for Ron's special retirement party, and it was signed by the president of Krispy Kreme Donuts. He was a great participant.
Fire up!
And the race is famous for drawing so many really fast runners among high school and college cross-country teams. It probably has more depth than any other race in Michigan.
Ron's teams used to beat, I won't name them, but used to beat several big-name universities. It got so they wouldn't run against him anymore. It was humiliating to have a community college team beat him. But Ron just... he really got him fired up, and that was his favorite saying, always, fire up. You know, he'd see somebody, he didn't say hello, he said fire up. That was his trademark.
Where did fire up come from?
For me, and everybody associates that with me now, but the old-time trains, and I grew up in Kansas, and they had a train that was this way. It ran from Cheney, Kansas to Wichita town, and we used to ride on it, and it was a wood burner or coal burner, and you put the coal into the wood, and you get it going, and then when there's enough steam in order to move the train, they blow the whistle like this, and it was fired up. And then we have, this is a silent sign for fire up, just the pumping of the fist. So we just go like that, and that means fire up. So if our runners would be out running in town and they're all over the place, we would never honk. A lot of people, if they see somebody running, they honk, you know, scare the hell out of you. You know, you drop a load in your pants or something. You know, for us, this is just a silent, we're with you, you know, we love what you're doing, you're a fired up road runner. So that's how that got started.
Welcome to Steve's Run! Fire up!
Then I brought in the Notre Dame runners. I brought in the high school teams, you know, and I think that really sparked things. And I never paid a runner to come.
Welcome to Steve's Run! Let's go, Valpo!
Notre Dame's top runners who just stole the show here at Steve's Run, the 30th annual running. I'm going to ask each one to introduce themselves and tell them what you thought of the race.
I'm Todd Mobley. As for the race, I'm just trying to get in shape right now. I don't have cross country this year, so I am in my 5th year at Notre Dame, the MBA program. I have indoor and outdoor track left, so I'll be racing in January and cheering these guys on this fall.
My name's Sean O'Donnell. I'll be a senior this year. It was a great race, just being able to get out here with these guys and work together. And it was a real fun course to do it on.
Caleb Van Art, I'm going to be a junior. The course was a lot of fun, and I don't know, it was a good experience to run with these guys.
I'm Tim Moore. I will also be a junior. I just wanted to come out to this event and race with my teammates, have some fun. The event's beautiful, and I'm happy I came.
Well, the three closest to me actually finished first in a tie and had to flip for who actually got to carry the award home. And we also want to sort of belatedly congratulate Tim Moore for being a 2nd Michigan High School Runner of the Year.
They always came because I worked with them or their coach, you know, and I thought that was really neat, you know, Joe Piani at Notre Dame.
We're here at the 30th anniversary of Steve's Run, the original road and trail race, with Ron Gunn and Coach Joe Piani of Notre Dame, who's been a big supporter of the race for quite a few years. Joe, tell us your perspective on Steve's Run, since you've seen it from some of its early days.
Well, it's a terrific run, and I think that every athlete really enjoys running on it because they're on the trails, they're on the roads, there's always a great crowd, and Ron also guaranteed us good weather this year.
A lot of your really good runners have run Steve's Run many times. Why is it a good race for your college runners?
Well, it comes at a perfect time. It's roughly 1 month before we start school. It's a great opportunity for them to test themselves, to see where they're at in terms of their training. And also, Ron has been a real friend to Notre Dame track, and so they really want to come and help support his race.
Jack Shaw at Western and all those guys, you know, that was, we had some real studs and fillies. We had some Olympians come. Then, of course, I had all my alumni. They're not too shabby either, you know. We had some really great runners, you know, that have come. And
let me mention one.
Okay.
It was 2003, and I was at the between the golf course and the cemetery, and there's a lead pack, and in that lead pack was this tiny little girl. It was Molly Huddle.
Yep.
And Molly now holds 5,000 meter record on the track, the 5,000 meter American record. How about that?
Yeah, I love Molly. You know, I love the name, first of all, because it's a great Irish name, but Molly, you know, really was a classy person, and she loved Steve's Run, and, you know, she just gave to us, and we really appreciate that.
Hi, we're here with Molly Huddle and Lauren King, who have just won the 5K and the 10K respectively at Steve's Run here in Dowagiac, Michigan. Molly, is this the first time you've run this race?
Yeah, it's the first time I've been out here.
What did you think of it?
I liked it a lot. It finished downhill, which made you feel really fast coming to the finish. A lot of momentum.
And what was your time today?
I think it was around 16:45. I'm not sure exactly though.
Well, that's pretty good for a hilly course like this. And Lauren, you ran that challenging 10K. Have you done that before?
No, it's the first time. It was a really great race.
It's an unusual course for a 10K race, isn't it?
It's a lot of fun. Just the hurdling haystacks and the hills make just for a great run.
All the other Irish and Wolverines and, you know, the people from Western and Michigan State, the Spartans. It's always been a lot, you know. And,
you've always had a really deep field in the 5K and the 10K.
Yeah. And I remember one year, this is off the track a little bit, but it's a little, history. We belonged to the Michigan Intercollegiate Athletic Association, and it had community college division, 4-year Division I, you know, but they'd always have their championship at one site, one race. And so one year I wrote a secret bid. I got a bunch of coaches to support me, and I went in and I got the bid for the meet at Hampshire Country Club right out here. Michigan State, Michigan, everybody, Eastern. And most of those, like Warhurst and everybody, they were behind me. They wanted to do it. Heck, I was offering wristwatches for the first 10. You know, if I go into Dowagiac, I got people. Hey, I'm bringing the Big Ten into town. Can you go for a wristwatch? You know, we're going to give. Sure. You know, and so we brought them to town. They said we want to have it here every year. You know, and that was a tremendous experience to see all those people. And you know, Michigan especially, Warhurst had some great teams, and Parks at Eastern Michigan had some hellish teams. Spartans now are coming back up, you know, and Central had some really good teams, but Southwestern ran right with them, toe to toe, you know. I'll never forget one time we went up to a meet. I'm not going to mention the school, but my kids always went with class. They're always just right. They knew what to do from a warm-up to how to set their blocks, everything. I said, I don't want you to junk up this field, you know, because one time somebody said to me, junkie JUCO. I said, we're never going to be a junkie JUCO, you know. And so anyway, I had a kid that placed in the sprint, and he went up to get his medal, and he said, Coach, they're not, they said I didn't qualify for a medal. And I went up to the coach and said, what is this, you know? And he said, well, you know, the junior, I said, this young man got 3rd place. I want his award. And he said, okay, you know, and I've never forgotten that, you know. And I've always told our kids there's no such thing as junkie JUCO. You know, it's not, it's what's in your heart. And it's in your preparation, and you can't imagine how lucky you get when preparation meets opportunity. You know what I mean? And we were prepared. Nobody had harder workouts. Another great story is Daryl Getson, who ran for me. I recruited him out of Detroit. The first 3 weeks on campus, he hated my guts. And he's an African-American athlete who won the state in 400 meters. And he wouldn't come to fall practices. I said, Gerald, I'm not going to kick you off the team. He says, but I'll tell you what, why don't you come and we'll meet in the gym and we'll play full court one-on-one basketball. And I think I could kick your butt. You know, Daryl said, okay, he came and we played one-on-one. And I did kick his butt. The old white honky can jump, you know. And so anyway, we got done with that. He started coming to practices, became one of the greatest athletes I ever had. One time a kid did not put out in the mile relay. Daryl got the baton, took off, and caught this runner. And when he finished, he was so mad, he threw the baton and it stuck in the track. You know, it was one of those rubberized asphalt track. And then he went on to become the head track coach at Michigan State University. And wow. he had my team come up. We ran a triangle meet with Michigan State, Iowa, and Southwestern, you know. And I'll never forget, probably the greatest tribute I ever had was after the meet, he called my team all together, and we were a class act. You know, we didn't junk up the track at all. And he said, listen to this man, you know. He said, when I went there, first, you know, we go to our first meet, we go 60 meters, and that's because we hit the gym wall, you know what I mean? Because we didn't have an indoor track. And it was, you know, but he said, listen to him because he knows what it takes to get where you want to be. And probably one of my greatest mantras is that a hungry dog hunts best. You know, if you're hungry and you want it, you know, things are going to work out for you. You can overcome anything.
One of the really cool things about Steve's Run are the awards. Each one is handmade, and every year they're different. And they're made by this guy here. His name is Al Potter. Al, how did you get started doing this for Steve's Run?
I was a member of the club, Monday Night Running Club, and we kind of started this after Steve died. And I was making them beforehand. I've made those for about 35 years, about 200 a year for 35 years. It's a lot of trophies.
He also had something to do with one of the innovations at Southwestern Michigan College, and that was the extreme sports program. Could you mention that a bit?
Yes. In I believe it was 1997, we discontinued the intercollegiate sports for several reasons. It was, as most sports programs are, we needed more money for computers. Computers are coming onto their own. And Ron's great teams, unfortunately, did not draw enough of local athletes. They were from all over the country. And so we just decided that we should change the emphasis from intercollegiate sports to turn the facilities into a wellness center, and which included intercollegiate sports or intramural sports, and included a great fitness center. And Ron headed that up with the same enthusiasm he did anything, and turned that into a great community asset. Instead of having only a handful of local athletes, we had hundreds and hundreds in the intramural, and we had dozens and dozens of local people who signed up to in the wellness center program that Ron headed up. And that he always said it was a bitter pill for Ron to swallow, but he sucked it up and became a great wellness center and authority on wellness. And so Ron was with us 39 years before he retired, which was recently. But back to extreme sports, when we got out of intercollegiate sports, Ron started this extreme sports program where he would take students maybe fast river rafting, rock climbing, all types of things that had a reasonable amount of hazards to them. But again, that became a great drawing card for enrolling students. Students who come here often just to participate in the extreme sports.
I think it's very cool. One of the banners outside on the light poles is somebody rock climbing. We have Ron Gunn, who's the Director of Fitness and Wellness here at Southwest Michigan College. And Ron has devised a program unique in the world of college credit, and that is extreme sports. Ron, tell us a little bit about the whitewater rafting, the sea kayaking, and some of the other things that you get people to do for college credit.
Well, we decided to jazz up our physical education program, Jenny, and we still have the weight training and the aerobic dance and the tennis and golf, but I wanted to do something that might provide a little more challenge for today's students. And I took my family on a trip to West Virginia, and we wanted to do something different. So I heard about whitewater rafting, and we went down to West Virginia and had an awesome experience. And I thought, this would be a great activity to have as a lab experience in our life fitness class. And in our life fitness class, we train people to develop a wellness lifestyle, because they're here at the college to earn their living with their brain and not their brawn. But it's very important for them to be physically fit. And our president believes in that. He's an ex-Green Beret, and he has physical education and life fitness is a requirement for graduation. So we're very proud of that. But some of the students want more of a challenge. So I developed an extreme sports program where they actually come to class for 6 2-hour lectures, and then we have one heck of a field trip for the lab part of the class. That was kind of neat. But I'd speak to like the Lions, Rotary Club, and everything, and they would say, "Well, can you start a program for me?" And these would be all the the leaders in the community, and I would try to put them off because how could you soar the eagles if you're surrounded by turkeys? So I so I thought, well, what the heck? Yeah, I said I teach it as a class, so you can come out and take it as Phys Ed 101, and but it turned out that they just kept pleading me. We want a class. We want a class. So I said, okay, I'll do it on Monday nights. Only men will come, being a male chauvinist pig at the time, and and then because of Monday Night Football, they'll all quit. And I go back to my elite runners. Well, a funny thing happened. I had like 100 and some people show up for the first class, and more of them were women than men.
He came up with this idea to have a hiking class whose final exam would be hiking across the Grand Canyon for their final exam, and he posted it as the most difficult 2 credit hours you'll ever earn, and he needed 20 students, and I think he got more than 25. He also, at that time, he had been working with the community and doing trips with the community. The running club was a big part of that, but he also offered seats on this trip to the community members, and with 10% more than the cost, which he took that 10% and used it to scholarship students. So the students were able to go on this trip at very low cost, and community members were able to go. He actually filled 2 buses on that first trip to the Grand Canyon.
Well, Ron Gunn's favorite place to be on Monday night is with the Monday night running club called the Road Runners, and with us here is one of them. What's your name?
I'm Dick Judd. I was an original Road Runner, track club member, so to speak. Which turned out it was really a running club to start with, but we also would rehydrate afterwards and find a local place here like Lindy's that would allow us to have some beverages that would help get the fluids back in our system.
Of course, that's so important. And you're one of the folks who's celebrating 50 years at Southwestern Michigan College today?
I have been president of the foundation, and actually I've been 40 years on the college foundation. My dad and I were 2 of the people that helped originally on this when it got started in 1963-64.
Well, it's a great day for a celebration, and one of the things that's really cool is you brought along some souvenirs of your Monday night running, and let's talk about a few of them.
Well, the first one up there is from the Michigan Runner, and in 1980 they had a 10K run around the Palace for the basketball game. I believe the Pistons were playing, and Ron received this award at the halftime of the game, which was really impressive. I remember it was snowing, it was pretty cold in March. We'd gone out the night before, and it was sometimes when you have red wine, it's a little hard to get up and run in the morning, but we managed, and I actually ran the fastest 10K I ever ran in my life. So who knows? Maybe that's the secret to the whole thing. The next one is Runner Magazine, and that came out when we were training 79 and 80, 1979 80, for the Honolulu Marathon, which we did on in Honolulu in December of 1980. Greta Waits is on the cover, but our pictures are all on the inside of the whole group. It was a class at Southwest Michigan College. You got credit for it, and then you never graduated from the class. You just went to 101, 102, 103, 104. It was one of the original shirts of Ron Gunn, and it was Ron Gunn and his Traveling All-Stars, the Monday night marathon running class, and he had a little saying on the back of it: "How can you soar with the eagles when you have a bunch of turkeys?" You can't see that, but that was, he had a lot of little quips that he used to have that, I didn't promise you a rose garden and all kinds of things. Like, he had an answer for everything. One of them was basically, what's the course like? It's flat to gently rolling, which means it was hilly. So we had that going. He started in the 1970s, a 10K race. It was sponsored several times by Budweiser or the Fair Store. Eventually the college did it. That's a shirt, the Fire Up shirt there is from 1983. He had a guy by the name of Bryce Culverhouse who used to design the shirt every year. We'd have a unique shirt. I must have 30, 35 of them that I've kept. And finally, the 1980 Honolulu Finisher Marathon, that's a prized treasure. I have one from the next one in Chicago too, which is not shown here, but those were great trips, and he's still running tours. Not running tours as much anymore, more hiking. In fact, he's off on one today with a group of people on a hiking tour. So that's a little story about Ron. I think he's changed a lot of lives in our community, and they're a great cohesive group of people. When somebody is in need or has a problem, the whole group gets together and takes care of it. And so there's still a great legacy that he has left. It's going to carry on, I think, for years and years and years beyond Ron.
Those are all great stories, and it's really fun to see that Fire Up shirt. Thank you for talking with us.
Okay, thank you.
We had also mentioned earlier that it's an exciting day for you because your book, The History of Southwestern Michigan College, is out today. Tell us a little bit about what inspired you to write that.
Well, I'm the only board chairman the college has ever had. I'm the longest serving board chairman in the United States, and this year is my 50th year. The closest person is 3 years behind me, and he used to be ahead of me, but he retired. Jim Tatum, Crowder College, Missouri, great friend and so forth. About 18 years ago, I kept having people tell me about things that happened in how the college was founded, and they didn't know what they're talking about. It was already after several years history was beginning to get tainted. And I decided if we were going to have an accurate history of the college, I had to do it because I'm the only person that was there for every event I write about. And plus I had saved all the documents. I saved tens of thousands of documents, which I have for research. So 18 years ago, I wrote 95 chapters from memory and put it aside and did not touch it until about May of last year. And so I had about a year to work on it, which I put in hours and hours and hours, going through tens of thousands of documents and verifying my memory. And so it was published this summer, and we just got it last week from the printers, which is Lithotech at Andrews University. Andrews University is near us and has a great printing. They're not to publish; they don't publish, but they print. I was my own publisher. My wife and I designed the cover, and it's a great read. It's a very candid, exciting book. It's the good and the bad and the ugly. I told it like it was. Most of these stories, the public, this is what went on behind the scenes, solving crises and solving problems that were almost insolvable. And some, if we had not won those battles, we would have been put out of business. And they were that serious. But hence the title of my book is Triumph Over Adversity. The Western Michigan College, and then a subtitle is the college some thought could not survive today is one of the premier educational institutions in the United States, which we are consistently. We are in the top 10% nationally in student success.
Well, there are so many really interesting programs. The one that always struck me as cool are the ones in different kinds of applied science. And there are also programs now with 2 universities, so people can go on and get 4-year degrees with Ferris State and Bethel College. That's a big change too, isn't it?
Yes, and this has been developed much more successful than we ever planned. We offer lots of 8 or 10, as I recall, baccalaureate degrees here, where the student never has to leave here. And it's in conjunction with, as you say, Ferris State University and with Mathews College.
One of the other recent changes is housing on campus.
Yes, and we have 3 beautiful dorms. Each houses 130 students. These have been built in the last 5-6 years, over a period of 5 or 6 years, and they're in suites of 4 rooms. Each student has their private bedroom, and every 2 rooms has a bathroom, and then a common living room and kitchen. But they're not like the dorms that you and I stayed in when we went to college.
I was comparing myself to that one.
And some are still that way at some of the universities, but they are state of the art. Every dorm has been full before we ever opened it, and stays full every year.
Well, that in itself underscores the quality of the institution, that people want to come from a little bit farther away now.
And when we put in dorms, my son David, who's president, came out of the university system. He used to be in a math faculty member at Central Michigan University when he came here. And he saw what they had done so successfully up there with a student activity center. He was convinced if you're going to have dorms, you've got to have something for the students to do at nights and the weekends. So coincidentally, with building these dorms, we also took our old gymnasium, doubled the size of it, turned it into a student activity center where we have a rock climbing wall. We have swim lanes where you can swim all day and never move, at any speed you choose, and a great fitness center. Badminton, video games, and the students also have their own theater where they can put on their own shows, or they can watch football games on the weekends and giant screen. And it has a little annex to our major cafeteria. But that is just a beautiful building that has helped make the dormitory so successful.
So there's lots to do here, and of course the cross-country trails around are quite famous among runners, and lots of people have a chance to really get out there and run, and the race and all the other things that you've done that connect Southwestern Michigan College with the city of Dowagiac are just huge. I can't think of another community college connection that's quite so close.
Yes, and actually we try and connect with a broader area we're close to Dowagiac, where we abut the campus is up against the city of Dowagiac, and but our reputation extends not only all over southwestern Michigan, northern Indiana, but across the United States and some foreign countries. So we have students from a good mix of students from other areas. But being near the city of Dowagiac is very valuable, and when it comes to police protection and many things, services that they can provide for the college.
I wanted to do something special for our community, and I just liked the challenge, so I decided to do a big 10K race. And then it was only a 10K. And so I thought, what are my options here? Well, I had started developing the trails. And we had a nice trail system, about 10,000 meters. I thought, why not combine the trails with the city? Because it's a wonderful city, Dowagiac really is. And they're named one of the top 3 villages in Michigan, and it's got tremendous resources.
It's one of the neat things about Dowagiac that we get musicians from Chicago that just love to come here and perform. And Eve tells me every time we talk about coming here that it'll be the best night of the year for him. I'm Larry from the Woodfire across the street, and we have the pleasure of having Eve come over and play a late set at the restaurant after he does what he does here. So this is Eve Francois and we're Combo Jazz. Welcome, please. Our first song is Now's the Time.
So we thought we'd make it a road and trail race. And I say the original and genuine, and nobody's ever challenged that yet. It was first called the Bud Light, Nike Bud Light. Then it went to the Fair Store, and then it eventually evolved into Steve's Run. And so it's had a wonderful, rich history. It got very popular, and you know, like I said, I ran the Boston Marathon one year. The first time I ran a marathon, and I was at 23, and I didn't know this is looking not real good. And there was a fellow playing Kansas and dust in the wind out of the window, second story window, and that just fired me up. And I went right on in and finished, even ate a little beef stew. But I thought music stirs the soul for a runner. So I came in Boston and finished really strong, and then I thought that, well, music really stirs the soul. So, you know, it's just like a marching band at a football game. And this I got to have for my runners.
Well, Steve's Run is celebrating 40 years today, and with us is Bill Kraft, who's been with Steve's Run as a DJ for a while now. Do you remember when you started, Bill?
I remember the first morning, how rough it was getting up here this early in the morning, but after a while, it's a theme, and all I know is that I need to show up here and start cranking up the jams, get everybody hopped up.
Go get it! Fire up! On the road again. Just can't wait to get on the road again.
We have a timer at every mile split. I marked all the Ks, and a lot of runners thought, wow, that is first class. You mark every K in the race? You know, and you know, I told Dave Briegel, I said, we got to find the best way to do it. Then we got to improve upon that.
We're here with Hal Higdon, who just won an age group award at the 35th annual Steve's Run. Hal, you've run this race many times. Tell us what brings you back.
Oh, I just love the course. It's an exciting event. You know, when you're new to running, you're looking for the fastest and flattest course you can get. You want to set the PRs. I'm sort of beyond that now. So I just love to come up here in Dowagiac and get back on the trails. Probably the best running trails in the world as far as I'm concerned. And of course the 5K runners turn right at a point and the 10K runners turn left. And I was in a big mob of people, you know, even walkers and joggers and everything like this. And all of a sudden we got to that turnaround point and I turned left and I suddenly discovered I was alone. So I spent most of the last part of the race just enjoying the scenery and everything, but it's lovely. Ron Gunn runs a great race, and it's a pleasure to be here every year.
Well, Dr. Mathews, I have to congratulate you on so many things. The college, this library, and now your brand new book. It's been just a real treat to talk with you today. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.